I'm Will,
And I'm Tyler.
and together we make Bacon Decker. Welcome to the podcast, virtually.
Yeah, unexpected. Right off the bat, happy Easter, everyone. And happy early Sunday if you guys are watching this on Saturday when it goes up. We don't have any way to cue when the other one is talking and not talking, so I guess we're just going to, wing it. Might talk over each other occasionally.
Yeah, we'll, I guess, figure it out as we go. This obviously is our first kind of a trial run for doing it like this. We both just have been, absolutely busy, and, we'll get into it throughout the podcast, but especially me this past week, I've just been slammed with work, and, Uncle Joe sent out all these stimmies, and everybody said, let me buy everything off Amazon that I can.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Work for me, I got a new route, so it has been an easy route switch. Like, I'm not overwhelmed or anything. But I have been focused on work mainly for the past 2 weeks. I actually missed an upload Monday for Blair Witch Part because I didn't even realize I'd been caught up to it, and then I forgot to upload that week. And so that night I looked for my video so that I could see how it went and everything. And there wasn't one, so I was like, oh, dang! I just completely have been focused on work, and I think you have as well.
yeah, I'm in the same boat right now. Like, I have to get some editing done as far as the rest of Call of Duty and the Halo series. So,
Which I think has gone really great so far. The Halo, so far we've had some decent feedback for the
positive
duos.
feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun doing the duos. Obviously, duos is the route we would like to go more or less. The single playthroughs is fun to us, but we really enjoy the duos. Just hopping into a game and playing together and checking it
Yeah,
out.
and a lot of the people, I guess, that watch our content watch us together.
Right.
That because I guess there's like a dynamic that each of us brings that
It's
when
almost
it comes
like the
together,
channel's
it's-
called
yeah.
Bacon Decker.
Yeah, you would think. Oh, dude.
Well, I have some interesting news. I experienced this pretty shortly after our last podcast filming, but I almost hit a biker or cyclist. I don't know what you want to call it. It was a very close call. He's perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine. No damage was done to either the bike or the car. In the short of it, I seen him just in the nick of time to swerve into the lane beside me and dodge him as he hit the brakes. So his tire hit my front left tire. That was how quick. I did not see him. He did not see me. He thought he had a light. There was no light or crosswalk on the road that he was passing or crossing. He just thought like crossing at the light was safer than just crossing randomly down through the street, which was not the case.
Obviously.
Yeah, so there was a big dump truck in the left turn lane, and I was in the middle lane. So I didn't see him at all passing the road until literally as I'm coming to where he thinks, there's a crosswalk would be. He comes out, we make contact, and I swerve. I pull into the next parking lot. Thank God there was nobody beside me. If there had been anybody beside me, I most likely would have wrecked and obviously done damage to two vehicles, plus potentially injured myself or another vehicle's worth of passengers or drivers. So we were very fortunate, very lucky. We just shrugged it off. But I parked in the parking lot, and I got out and I grabbed my phone because at this point I don't know where he's landed. I don't know if he's in the road, if I hit him, more than I thought I did, and hurt him, or somebody else could have hit him. I don't know if he tried to keep going across and got hit by somebody else. I have no idea. So I got my phone. I run up to the light where it happened, and he's just standing on the sidewalk on his bike, and he's like, "Hey, are you all right?" I'm thinking, "Are you all right?" Like, you're the one on the bike. He's like, "No, you didn't even hit me." So I guess his adrenaline was running so much that he didn't even realize we had made contact, because at that point he was like, "I'm fine. My bike's fine. Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I go back to look at my car and make sure there's no damage, and the only thing I can see is on my left front tire. My car isn't as clean as I wish it was, but you can see where he skid across, and like the dirt had been cleaned off. Like, it just scraped it
Yeah.
with the rubber tire on his bike. So very close call. And I wasn't really shaken up then. But then as I was driving to my next stop, I was working. Like if it had happened, it would have been really interesting how everything would have went. But thankfully it did not. I get to my store and I don't know. That's when it hit me. I'm just like, man, I almost potentially killed a guy or critically injured him. So like it freaked me out. But
Yeah, that's wild, man.
that's my wild story of the 2 weeks that since the last time.
I can't say anything that dramatic has happened to me. Really, for me, the past 2 weeks have just, how on the last podcast we talked about how Amazon's out here taking my job and stuff. So they ended up giving us back the volume, and all of a sudden, these stimulus checks hit, and I mean, our volume's been super high to the point where, I mean, all of us, we're all working like 10 to 12 hour days, And
I've seen a lot of Amazon vans still out and about too, so I was really wanting to ask you on this podcast, how it was going since the last time.
Yeah, so I think they're still delivering like Prime packages, and they're just not delivering all Amazon packages. But yeah, I mean, I still see them around town and here and there, but yeah, I mean, we're packed full again. So
well, it's a good thing.
I mean, I don't know what this week's gonna bring, so to speak, but I mean, the way it was the past 2 weeks, I mean, it was a lot of overtime. Yeah. But yeah, it is a good thing.
Good old job security.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's a bad thing for us as far as the channel goes. So it's more difficult to get together and try to film things and whatnot. So we wanted to try to do the virtual podcast. We've talked about it before, and I think we've talked about it actually on the podcast of like trying to figure it out in case one of us ever moves or, in a situation like this where we can't link up and actually make a podcast. We have a way of doing that. And maybe you guys enjoy this better than having the actual video file as well. It will still go up on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It's just YouTube will just be our logo most likely, and then us talking. So that's why we changed up the intro as well, so that you can kind of understand who's talking and whatnot. So,
but obviously, give us your feedback as far as what you think, because obviously, if you really like watching the video version, even though it is just us sitting there and talking, we'll listen to that, and because this really is just kind of an emergency situation in terms of like when we need to, get together and we need to film the podcast. It was a solution to, instead of just not uploading one, we would just have an audio only one.
Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'm trying to think. Oh, I got contacts. That was a big thing. Happened a few days ago. I'm wearing glasses right now. I wore glasses today to work, so I had contacts for yesterday and the day before. Was my first day getting them. That was interesting. They dilated my eyes to check the health of my eye, or both my eyes, and everything's good there. But they dilated my eyes to the point that I could not see anything. Everything was blurry. I wish I had even drove myself, to be honest, but they were like, yeah, you can drive on it, it's fine, because it's the only thing that my insurance covers. It doesn't cover the x-ray that they did last year, which is $40. And I was like, well, I'd like to save $40. Yeah, go ahead and dilate my eyes. If I can drive, I'll be all right then. Whew, I should have paid the $40, because the dilation lasted, they said could last up to 3 hours, but I went to bed and my left pupil was bigger than my right pupil still. So it still had a lasting effect. I woke up the next morning. I was like, I guess I'll try my contacts. I hope it's not bothering me still. And I did wear my contacts all day yesterday. I was very sore at the end of the day. Like my eyes were tired, ready to take them bad boys out at the end of the night before I went to bed, which we had a late night last night, which we can get into in a second. But contacts are going good. I really enjoy them. I did get an Oculus Quest 2. So the VR experience is a lot better not having the bulky glasses under the headset for spacing wise. They do have a glasses spacer but overall, it just feels a lot more immersive when you're in the game and you don't feel those glasses pushing on your nose and whatnot. So it's very neat. And one of the big reasons, because it was only $60 to get the contact fitting, where the place I went with the insurance that I've got. So the contacts themselves are paid for. It's just the fitting is what I had to pay for the first time. So I've got my old glasses, which my prescription didn't change at all, which is crazy to me that my eyes are just completely the same. They've been that way since high school, actually, because I went and got refit. When I went last year, it changed almost not at all. They said it was so minor that they changed it just to kind of tweak it a little bit, but they said that it wouldn't have affected my vision at all. So it's like, okay, cool. It's like that's kind of what I thought. I've had the same glasses since high school. My glasses were actually super glued together. You couldn't close them just because I hadn't gotten around to going to an eye doctor. After my dad divorced the second time, I didn't really have an eye doctor because she worked at the eye place. That's where I got my glasses from. So after that, dang. I never really was like, well, I can still see with these glasses. I'm fine. So when the screw fell out on the right side, I was like, super glue it. Yeah. So I don't know. I just never got around to getting new glasses. So I'm really happy with the frame that I got this time. So I didn't get new frames because they were like, well, you don't have to get new frames if your prescription didn't change. I was like, great. I mean, these are going fine. I say, if they break within the year, is it still covered or whatnot? Like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, cool. So, worst case scenario, if my glasses break, I can get new glasses. No issues. Yeah, I guess you can tell them about last night and whatnot.
Oh, yeah. So we obviously... We're trying to do this thing where we get the guys together every month or so, and what we had all come to the conclusion of doing was Tyler came up with the idea, hey, let's rent Godzilla versus Kong and watch it at somebody's house. We can order pizza and and drinks and sit down, watch and hang out. So me wanting to break in my new house and my little theater setup I have in my office,
which was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it and the way it's all come together in here. But yeah, we got to come in here. We got Mr. B's Pizza, if you're familiar. If you're from the Bowling Green area, or I think they have a few chains around Kentucky.
I didn't know if it was local
or a few stores. It's like
small town.
What do they call it? Yeah, it's like a very small franchise thing.
Local chain, I believe, because I think local is still considered a couple.
Because there's like one in Murrayville and one in Henderson. Mm-hmm. Then there's one here in Bowling Green. But anyway, so Mr. B's, they're really good pizza. I mean, super good quality. And they make a large amount of wings for you, So, like, you can order up to, like, 50 wings, So it's like 10, 20, 30, and 50, right? That's the sets they come in. So, I mean, it was a hefty amount of food for the five of us, but... We were also more focused on the movie.
I was definitely more focused on the movie. The pizza, that's why when you asked who wanted what, I was just like pepperoni, because my main thing was Kong versus Godzilla. Like, that was my big, ticket item. I was like, I want to see this movie. I was like, let's get the guys together. So that was the first thought. And I was like, I don't care what we eat. Like, I'm all about this movie. Which, in hindsight, it was a really good movie. It was... I would like to rewatch it again on my own, since I paid for the HBO Max to get it. So I was like, you know what? I probably should sit down and rewatch it again and focus more on the small details, because I don't know, at the beginning of the movie, I really felt like they were trying to push too much at once. I felt like they put two storylines of two different movies in one movie. Yeah. And I think that was kind of... So many people expected what happened. I don't want to spoil it, because it literally just came out. But I don't know. It just wasn't what I was expecting this movie to be about, I guess.
Yeah, and you kind of predicted the ending early on too.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think we'd started the movie, and you kind of predicted what was going to happen.
Yeah, just basing it off of the old movies, the very very old Godzilla movies. But overall, the graphics and everything, they did a great job with that. Like, it wasn't like you were watching some kind of B-list movie of like, man, it doesn't look good. So it was definitely well made, considering the
Yeah,
times.
they did a great job with CGI.
Yeah, considering the times and trying to get stuff together to make a movie would be insane right now. So with everything that they had to go through, like it turned out to be a great movie. We had a lot of fun. But yeah, your house is very nice. It's crazy at this point that we've talked about you getting your house. I don't know how many podcasts now, but I have yet to actually go to your house. So like this was the first time I actually seen the house and even knew where it was, to be honest with you. So like when I figured out where it was, I was like, oh, this ain't too bad. So it's a pretty quick drive from my place to yours.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a better drive too than where my apartment was.
Oh yeah, for sure. You don't have to avoid the entire bypass. That's always a plus.
So would you end up taking university or did you take veterans?
I took veterans. Yeah, I took veterans and then went back through the apartment areas over there.
Yeah.
So it's busy through there, like that little gas station and laundromat or whatever. There was like a ton of cars when I tried to pull out. I was like, man, I'll get out eventually, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, I'm glad we moved out here, but there's still so much work. Like it sucks because I kind of would like to have shown you around more, but
well, another time.
We had a job. Yeah.
Well, we were pressed for time because even yesterday. So this is being filmed the Saturday of the podcast going up. It's obviously going to be delayed. It's already like 4 in the afternoon. I've still got to edit it and everything, but that's just how pressed for time we've been. Like we planned the Kong versus Godzilla, a month ago, 2 months ago, with all the guys.
I think it was a month ago.
Yeah, and then they pushed the movie back, so that screwed everything up. Because everybody was like perfectly okay with the date we planned, the day it came out, and everything was fine. We were going to watch it last Saturday, I believe.
Yeah.
And then so when they delayed the movie, it kind of screwed everybody over because everybody's like, well, crap, now we've got to rearrange everything and make sure we're good to go. So doing that kind of pushed us pressed for time for the week in general. So William having a busy work week, my new route, trying to focus on the playthroughs for the week, and then also trying to balance the Kong versus Godzilla get together. It just the podcast kind of was like, well, we'll just film one tomorrow when I get off work and go from there. And that's why we did the virtual podcast this week. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I think it'll be really a change of pace and also something new for us to experience and try on the channel. So I feel more comfortable. I don't know about you, but I feel more comfortable sitting right here than I do knowing that there's a camera on me and I'm just talking.
Yeah, the same. I feel the exact same.
I really understand why a lot of podcasts don't have a video file because I think a lot of them probably are just chilling or whatever. I'm still sitting as I would sit at the table, and I want you to know I'm still using my hands to talk. But I just feel more at ease doing this than worrying about the camera angles, worrying if I'm making a stupid face, like overall I'm just more relaxed in this setup.
The big thing I always worry about while we're doing the podcast is I'm looking at the camera and I'm looking at you and I'm looking back at the camera. I'm like, am I looking at the camera enough? Am I looking at him?
Yeah. Well, the way our table's set up too, it's not really the easiest to keep eye contact with each other because we're almost sitting beside each other. So it's like you almost kind of feel like you're stupid looking to the left while the camera's filming this, So, but yeah, I think this will go. I think it's going okay. I don't think we're gonna have any issues. Cross my fingers. And if we do have issues, you guys won't hear this anyway. So,
yeah.
But something I wanted to bring up, and we've talked about topics and whatnot, kind of bringing up into a subject, and I didn't bring it up to you. But it's been like a trying week for me mentally, and I don't really want to get like too into everything. But like, I was gonna ask, where is your happy place, William? Like, what puts you in your happy place, like throughout the week? Like when you have a terrible work week, things just don't really go right for the week. Like, what sets you, like, calms you down? Because I know both of us have, like, experienced things and whatnot. So, because I've got my answer.
Yeah. Oh, Well, it's hard to say. My happy place. I mean, I don't necessarily really have like a happy place
You can say
per se.
Okinawa if you want.
Well, it's not like that. It's
I was thinking
so I
more
don't have.
metaphorically. I wasn't talking about an actual
Okay.
location. Like what
Well,
gets
yeah,
you through the week.
but that's something. Yeah. Okay. So you're just basically asking me basically how I cope with stress,
Mm-hmm.
essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, it's funny you asked this question, and I'm gonna try and keep it on track, but at the same time tell this story before I give you my answer. Um, so me and Krista started our premarital counseling this week.
Are you supposed to do
Um,
that? Maybe that's that was a step I missed.
yeah, I mean that was something Krista was very adamant about, and I wanted to also because I mean one I think counseling is a good idea anyway, and I
Hmm.
probably need a little bit more counseling in my life.
I'm afraid of what they'll say,
And
to be honest with you.
yeah, and thank God I'm sitting down with the pastor that I grew up with, and
Hmm.
who's kind of been my spiritual guide throughout my life. So I feel a little bit more comfortable with him. And at the same time, like I'm bearing all my issues to him, and it's hard, but it's not hard,
Yeah.
because I look up to this guy and I don't want him to, think less of me, but at the same time, I want him to help me and make me a better, husband and
Hmm.
man. So, but yeah, so we had to take these. It's like a survey online type of thing where you just basically it asks you a whole bunch of questions about your personality and about your relationships with your family, your friends, and with your partner. And I mean, it took me probably like half an hour to do. I mean, just dozens of questions, and it all gets compiled and gets thrown into a bunch of charts and stuff. But
Hmm.
in one of the things, it talks about it basically judges our ability to cope with stress, and I actually scored, from what he said, pretty well. You know,
Hmm.
all things considered, he said, I mean, there are people who, not in the middle of a pandemic and not having a stressful work life, score higher on the, you
Hmm.
know, not being able to cope with stress type thing. Um, so for me, that was kind of enlightening because I feel like I don't handle stress as well as I could.
Right. I don't think
But
anybody feels like they handle it correctly.
um, I'd say essentially what I do to cope with it is, and it sounds kind of stupid, and it doesn't sound like I'm actually coping, but basically I just, it's almost like I take a what's the phrase? It is what it is type attitude. But it's like, what could I have controlled in this situation? And
Right.
if it was completely out of my control, it's not even worth freaking out about. I get, and I'll tell you, in the moment, when I'm under stress, we're constantly out there fighting packages and stuff, especially on a super busy day. Fighting through your truck to get and find one single package. I mean, Krista will tell you, I'm losing my mind,
Hmm.
spitting words out that I shouldn't be saying. I mean, just losing my mind in the back of that truck. And but to calm down from it, it's just like, I take a breath and I just kind of stop what I'm doing and I just try to like, just
Collect
let it
yourself,
go.
essentially.
Just yeah. Basically, I mean, you hear people say it all the time, like take a deep breath and count to 10 or something, and that's
Hmm.
essentially what I'm doing. Is I'm just stopping what I'm doing, regathering myself, and continuing on. You know,
Hmm.
um, some of the things I do to, I guess, relax, right? To after I've had a stressful day, to just kind of, um, I guess, unwind.
Hmm.
Um, is I just like to sit and watch TV, man. Like to, and the thing is I'll make something simple to eat. If I've had a stressful day, Krista will tell you I don't want to come home and cook. I just don't want to do it. So we'll either go out to eat, or I'll just throw something in the microwave. We'll
Right.
eat leftovers or like some pizza rolls or something, and then I will just sit down, turn the TV on, and I'm like, I'll tell Krista, I was like, let's just have a nice quiet evening. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do any projects. I'm not trying to clean the house right now, or worry about doing the laundry or the dishes or whatever. I just want to sit down and calm down because, and this is kind of throwing a little bit of my relationship business out there, but you know, and I'm not going to try and sound bad on it, but you know, she she's kind of a busybody, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So she likes to get stuff done, and it's
Right.
always kind of at inconvenient times for me, and she also likes to be with me all the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine, except for when because I'm an introvert, she's an extrovert, right? So
Mm-hmm.
being around other people drains me,
Right.
drains my energy. So I like to be, alone, or, you know, away from a person I've been around for too long.
Right.
So like when we're hanging out, that's fine because, it's something different. I'm away from something that's part of my regular routine.
I'll be honest with you though, like
Um,
when we played airsoft, that ride home to me was like, whew, you know, I'm the same.
yeah,
I think we're both introverts in that aspect for sure. Like, I had a lot of fun out there playing airsoft, but man, when I got in that car, I was going home, ready to kick them shoes off, go home and relax, unload my gear, and just chill in my room, and just relax.
yeah.
So I think it's just, an introvert thing where you just it's draining. But continue.
Um, but what I was gonna get at was, um, she, because she likes to be around me so much, that causes me stress because I am an introvert,
Mm-hmm.
And so early on in our relationship, we kind of had to talk about how, hey, I need my space.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be alone because that's how I deal with stress.
Mm-hmm.
If I can clear everything out of my head and out of my life and just for instance focus on one thing like a TV show or playing video games,
Right.
something mindless, the stress will go away for me. It'll
Mm-hmm.
just I won't be worried about it anymore. So that's something we had to set boundaries on early in our relationship.
Man, I think every
And it's
relationship's that
helped.
way too. I think a relationship is a thin line between obsession and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You can either push it too far and smother one of the other, or you can realize that time apart makes the time together better.
Uh-huh.
And that's just a fine line because Gabby and I both experienced the same thing. Like when we were together at first, we would stay up all night. We would talk all hours of the day, and if we had
Yeah.
plans, we canceled plans to have plans together. We were just so, I guess it's like that lovey-dovey stage, that just you want to know everything about the person and everything they do, everything they experience. You want to know and experience together. Because I mean, both of us were looking for a relationship. Just we were happy together. But at some point in the
Mm-hmm.
relationship, we're both like, you know what? It'd be nice if I just had a girls' night, or if I had a guys' night, or do you want to
Yeah.
go downstairs and play Xbox, and I'm gonna watch my show? Yeah, yeah, And at first, it was a lot of me, at first pushing it because I was the
Mm-hmm.
one that really felt that way first. I was like, I really like just play some Xbox, and if you want to pass the time and go hang out with your friends or something. Well, why don't you want to spend time with me? It's not that it's it comes as a shock to the person who isn't expecting that, because they're
Yeah.
still in that lovey-dovey phase and don't realize the times are changing essentially.
Yeah,
So
there's a shift in the relationship.
yeah, so they're like, oh, I didn't realize that you wanted time to yourself. But then afterwards, even now, like she's upstairs doing her own thing, having fun. She's completely fine with that, and I'm down here doing the podcast. When I stream and she's home, or Even essentially, if I just come down here and play Xbox, and she's just like, "Well, I'm gonna watch my show," it's fine, you know. Or sometimes now at this point, she's like, "Do you want to go downstairs and play Xbox? I really want to watch this episode of my show." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure," you know. So we've definitely gotten to the same page on that, and I think it's definitely something in the relationship that you've got to find the common ground. I'm not saying you don't want to see each other all week long, but you don't want to
Yeah.
smother each other either.
Well, yeah, and so me and Chris, we're moving towards that. You know, like she's starting to get into the same, you know, place. So now, you know, if I'm like, hey, you know, I'm going to go do the podcast now, or I got to go to Tyler's, we're doing this, this, and this, you know, or whatever the case may be, you know, she's like, okay, and she'll either watch, like you said, she'll watch one of her shows, or, you know, she'll go around and she'll do something to keep herself busy, like cleaning, you know, like wiping the counters down and sweeping and stuff like that, just to keep herself busy. And what I've like tried to push her to do, because obviously like video games, that's a hobby, right?
Right.
Is to, you know, push her to get her own hobby so that she, you know, has something that, well, okay, well if he's doing this, I can go do this then, you know, and so we're trying to figure out what she would want to do as a hobby right now, but
Right.
what I was
yeah.
gonna say.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I forgot to say earlier, because I lost track of where I was going, but it was hard to explain to her, you know, because obviously I'm alone on the truck, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so she would think that was alone time, but it's not really alone time, because I'm working and I'm under, you know, stress, and I'm under the clock, you know, so
Right.
I'm constantly, you know, I'm not getting that relief because I'm doing something anyway, you know,
Yeah,
and of
you
course
feel
I'm also
responsible.
interacting,
Yeah.
you know, with customers, so it's not relaxing, you know, it's not relaxing alone time. And I was listening to Ear Biscuits, you know, Rhett and Link's podcast yesterday, or not yesterday. What day is the day?
Today's
Yeah, so
Sunday.
yesterday. Yesterday, Friday, while I was working, I was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about like some of the habits successful people do, you know, and alone time was, you know, one of the ones they'd mentioned. And it's like, well, heck yeah, dude, you know, you gotta get out of everybody else, you know, get everybody else out of your head and kind of clear it out,
Right.
you know. And that, I think that's one of the reasons I really enjoy it, is because of that, you know, that it kind of just
Refreshes
reboots
you.
my system. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as Happy Place goes, like I said, I had an answer. It's an answer, I guess, in a way. A lot of times when I cope with a bad week or whatever, I just want to go sleep. It's probably not a healthy thing to do, but most of the times when my brain gets going and I feel like I am drained and I'm swamped and everything is coming down around me, sleep to me, and Gabby will attest to this, like we'll get into an argument, and it's not nothing serious argument, but like we'll get into like a little, you know, couples argument, and I'm just like, you know what, I understand, like I feel like going to bed. Well, that's obviously not the right thing to say in an argument with her, because the way she handles it is she wants to talk about it, she wants to handle it and take care of it, which is understandable. But my brain is like, I want to go to bed because I'll forget about it, and it's not worth making a longer fight or a bigger fight over. So like if I go to bed, I wake
Right.
up, we'll forget about it, and we'll go back to, you know, being okay and not fighting over something that both of us agree afterwards is like, that's silly, we shouldn't have fought over that. So yeah, after a bad day or like maybe a night where she's not here or something, I'm like, yeah, I got the house to myself. And then I'm just like, you know what? I just want to go to bed. Like, I just relax. And I guess it's because my brain shuts off when I'm sleeping. You know, I feel like I get that alone time in sleeping, I guess. But I don't know. My happy place overall, though, is that drive home from work.
Yeah.
I think it essentially, like you said, not only is it a long time, but man, my music, Every time on
Yeah.
my way home,
Music's so important.
even in the morning, like I've got music going, and it just changes my mentality completely. I don't know if it's because
Mm-hmm.
I'm disconnecting myself from what's going on, or I just feel like that relief. But man, I'll turn on my Pandora, pick whatever station I'm feeling, because my stations are based off my mood, I guess. Um, Everybody asks like, well, what kind of music you listen to? It depends on the day, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Depends on how I'm feeling.
uh, but that drive home, like today, so nice outside this weekend. So I just rolled the windows down, just drove home, drove the speed limit. Wasn't trying to get nowhere in no hurry. I almost felt like just keep
Mm-hmm.
on driving, you know, like I just
Yeah.
relaxed. And usually by the time I get home, I've forgotten about whatever's been bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
Very seldomly do I let work bother me at this point. Like at Pepsi, I really don't have a job where I feel like it follows me home. So once I
Yeah.
clock out and I'm done working, I really don't have bad days. Like things like today went terribly wrong. We had the driver call out, so it pushed everybody's schedules all around. Like our day was just messed up from the get go. But it still wasn't a bad day. It's like I don't have those days where I hate my job or anything. It's just like, well, it's not going to be a normal day. But when I get home and I can't, I don't want to not sound cheesy because it's true. But being with Gabby really takes a lot of that away from me as well.
Yeah.
No matter if we're doing anything or even if she's upstairs doing her thing and I'm down here, just knowing she's here helps me a lot mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Like it refreshes me just to, I don't know, hear her voice or hear how her day went instead of like focusing on my day.
Yeah.
So I definitely know that I would not be as well off as I am now without her being here and being a support structure, you know. And it goes both
Mm-hmm.
ways. Like she has a bad day, the first thing she wants to do is call me, tell me what's happened, and then after she's done talking about it, she feels better about it. So
Yeah. I mean, so I'm on the road, all day long,
mm-hmm.
and getting, I always look forward to when Krista calls, because she'll call me in the middle of the day, like when she's in between interviews or, she's going on lunch, she'll call me and we'll just sit there, because I'll have an earpiece in, and we'll just sit there and talk and talk and talk,
Mm-hmm.
about nothing or about, what's going on in our day or whatever. But that kind of keeps my stress down too, because, um, she's keeping me essentially out of my own head,
Right.
because it can get overwhelming so fast, um, if you're having a rough day,
Mm-hmm.
and having somebody there that's just listening to you, like gripe and complain or whatever, and or I can just ask her, well, what are you doing today? What who you
Right.
interviewing? What's the story? You know, it helps out a lot having somebody there who's definitely
Yeah.
trying to sponge up your stress and your depression, I guess.
And it's crazy because Gabby will call me when she's on her way to work, and she'll tell you that she thinks it drives me crazy. But honestly, if she doesn't call me on her way to work, I feel like something's different about my day
Yeah.
because I am working when she calls me, and it does drive me insane. But I feel like if she doesn't, I feel like something's off, or maybe she's not in a good mood, or I feel like maybe I've done something, So
Mm-hmm.
that call to work is always the same. I can repeat it word to word without picking up the phone. I will say hello. First thing she goes, hello. What are you doing? She knows what I'm doing. She's called me for years now. And then the one thing that has never changed in our relationship is every time she calls me, I know where I'm at. I'm at work. So first thing, working. Yeah. Oh, well, fun. And then she's just
Yeah.
like, I'm on my way to work. Like, I don't know that she works for a living as well, but it's just like, it's always the same conversation. But
Yeah.
without it,
It's,
I just
we
feel
do the
like,
same thing.
yeah, I feel like I don't feel as refreshed. I feel like something's missing throughout the day. And she'll call me on her lunch. And some days we talk on her lunch. Some days she's like, well, I've really just not had a good day. I'm just going to watch my show on Netflix and just eat my lunch and relax. Okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But she still calls. Whether we talk the entire her hour lunch break or I'm really busy maybe, she at least makes the effort to call. Of course, I don't call
Mm-hmm.
her because I could answer my phone at any time at Pepsi or any of the jobs I had really. Whereas when she's at the bank, she can't just have her phone on her at all times. She's got customers. So unless I know she's actually on her break, I don't call. So
if Krista doesn't call me by like I would say 1 or 1:30, I'll call her because then I'm like, oh man, she's either A, having a bad day, or B, did something happen to her, you know?
Yeah.
So,
If I don't have a phone call by the time that she's normally off of lunch and back to work, I'm definitely texting like, hey, are you not at lunch yet? Or did you have a good lunch? And she'll text me like, no, I haven't went yet. And I'm like, well, I guess I'll make dinner tonight. It's like, what are all the things I can do to make her day better? It's like, well, I'll definitely get food for dinner, or I'll cook when I get home, or, go that way with it instead of like, well, I'm sorry your day's bad. I'll talk to you when you get off, I try to.
Yeah.
There's times when she's like, well, I just had a really bad day. And I'm just like, well, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? And, it's just changed the entire mood. Like, it's nothing serious. Obviously, we're going to eat dinner either way, but it's trying to take her mind off of the work. Because we really reversed roles.
Because it's stressful.
When we first got together, I was so stressed about my job as a manager at Save-A-Lot and at Clark. I really let it bother me, and I brought it home all the time. And she was the opposite. She's like, I don't care where I work. It's just a job. I collect paycheck, and then, I come home and I get to do what I want. So it was the opposite. Now, I love my job. I'm super happy with my job. And I could care less if everybody quits tomorrow. I'm still going to go in and work Pepsi. And I'm like, well, that sucks for them. I'm going to still come in and work and have a good time. Whereas now she stresses, I feel like, over her job a lot. It's not that she doesn't like her job. She loves her job. Like she's super happy with the job, but she lets like things bother her. Whereas used to, she's just like, it's whatever. That's up to her. It's no big deal. And I was the other way. So we really have switched roles. So now I'm to the point where like I have to sit there and listen to whatever's bothering her at work or whatever she's just wanting to vent about. And in my head, I'm thinking, don't let it bother you. But a year ago, she would have been telling me the same thing. Like, don't let it bother you. Just go to work and just do what you do and come home. So I guess it's karma coming back around for all the earloads I've probably given her about my jobs previous before Pepsi.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I just you've really been tossing up the topic, subject, and whatnot. So like, I don't know. I was driving home one day and I was like, you know what? I wonder what his happy place, like what gets him throughout the week. Because man, like something here lately, and it's not been work related. It's just I don't know. Mentally, I feel drained here lately. And I think switching the channels did a lot. Not being on my own with YouTube and focusing on the Bacon Decker channel, that was a big change. Switching routes, and also I've applied for 2 positions at Pepsi. Both times I've given them to the guy that deserved it, so it's not like I'm upset about who got it. Congratulations to both of them. But at the same time, it does bother you because, like, man, I would like to move up. So, but it wasn't that I was jealous or upset about that. It's just I really felt like I had like not achieved anything there for a couple weeks back to back, and then we dropped under 200 on my channel and stuff. So I don't know. Mentally, I was just kind of like, man, what am I doing? What makes me happy? Like I don't know what I want to do, kind of thing. So, but this week, last night with the Kong versus Godzilla, the get together and stuff, like just in general, me and Gabby's hung out more, doing things and whatnot. So I just living life essentially, like doing something keeps me happy.
Yeah.
Those nights when she's not here and nobody's on Xbox and I really don't have a game plan of what I want to do, some nights I just go and get dinner by myself. And I used to do this when I was single. Just go get dinner, come home, watch some YouTube, watch a movie that I hadn't watched in forever. My go-to back in the day, I don't know if it's like, they say you have like a man period. Like, man, I just felt like I go get food, come home and I watch Tom Hanks' Forrest Gump. That was like my go-to. Like, I just feel like.
You cry? You cry, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
I tear up at the end, man. when Jenny dies and he's there talking about
at
his
her
son.
grave, talking to her.
Oh man, and when he's like, "Oh, he's so smart," that's the moment I'm like, oh. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna shed at least one tear. It's not like I'm bawling like a baby, but it's like a little dribble. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not crying. You cry.
It's just you're thinking like, man, if I had a son, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like Forrest Gump is a motivating movie to me. I know a lot of people watch it and they're like,
Yeah.
man, it's just like he did so much. Exactly. Like that was one man's life. Obviously, it's fictional, whatever, but like it is so cool that he achieved so much and didn't even realize it. Essentially, like so many people
Yeah.
strive to do something with their lives, and he did so much without even realizing it. And
Hmm.
then it makes me think about like, man, I've done a lot and I don't even realize it. Like I look at like the ring on my finger. I look at it all the time. Like, and you'll get there too when y'all get married. When you look down at your hand and there's a ring on your finger, it's just different. Like you realize, man, I'm married. And like the whole way onto the honeymoon, after the wedding, I was like, we're married. That whole morning we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I drove all the way to Florida, and the whole time I just kept looking. I kept feeling this rubber piece because I've got a rubber ring. Rubbing my hand as I turned the steering wheel. It just is like constantly just there. It reminded me. I get snagged at work a lot, and it's just like I'm not even mad about it. But getting married and the YouTube stuff taking off and actually sticking with it, like I'm very prideful of knowing that I've stuck with it this long, even though I've changed up the algorithm and how I've done things and what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And you can attest to that. Like I've always been the guy that just tries things. Like
Yeah.
um, if something piques
Constantly
my interest,
changing it up.
yeah, if something
Yeah.
piques my interest, I'm gonna try it. And what I didn't realize with the Pokemon stuff is like once I didn't feel like doing it no more, I got these people that look forward to it. So, it put me in a position of like, dang, do I keep going even though I don't want to for these people, or do I do what makes me happy and go ahead and stop it now?
Yeah.
So, I just I've always been the one to try a new hobby. Like growing up, there's no telling how much money I spent on stuff that I never stuck with. I mean, I've got a knife collection, I've got Pokemon cards, I got pop figures, I've got airsoft collection, I've got. I had a paintball gun at one point just to see what the paintball guns were like. Uh, um, Guns, like going out and just hiking and experiencing like nature and stuff is always fun to me. But like, I've thought about getting like an ATV or a 4-wheeler or something and like getting a truck and like going off and doing trail riding and stuff. Like I'm always just what's next, I guess, which is an
Hmm.
unhealthy thing to have.
You
Because
think so?
I, if you can't find, I feel like I'm constantly looking for something,
Mm.
So I have a ton of fun doing it in the moment, but then after I've done it for so long, I feel like I'm looking for the next thing. So I think that's the unhealthy part. Like if you're looking for something, then it's not healthy because then you're just constantly back and forth feeling. Whereas if you're looking for something and you find it, and that's what makes you happy, then you kind of have something you look forward to every week.
Yeah.
So, and I think like the YouTube stuff, I always come back to it. Like sometimes I'll kind of be like, I don't really feel like uploading anything or streaming today, and then another week I'm back into it. So it seems like it always calls me back. I mean, I think YouTube is the one thing that I always have found a lot of fun in. Even like other channels as well. I think there's a lot of good communities out there. So, but
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems I like doing it. It's just getting used to, or I wouldn't even say getting used to it. It's more like integrating it with my life
hmm
is, been the challenging part, trying to find time where I can step away from this, or I can step away from, what I'm doing with Krista, and I can come over here, I can edit a video or two and, and upload them to YouTube. So what I would do, especially on the weekends, is, I get up early and I'll come out, I'll make my coffee, I'll come in, I'll sit down, and I'll, come in here and I'll edit a couple videos before she wakes up.
hmm
And that's kind of, one, that's my alone time, right? I'm getting
right,
alone time. But two, it keeps me from, you know, forcing her to, I guess, not get to hang out with me. You know
right.
what I mean? So, she gets to sleep in and I get to, work on the YouTube stuff. But I wanted to, before we get off here, I wanted to tackle back on what you were saying with, kind of looking at it and realizing the surrealness of your life, what
Mm-hmm.
you've accomplished up to that, and specifically this happens all the time, with Krista is like, you know, holy, I'll look at her, I'm just like, holy cow, like I'm getting ready to marry this girl, like I'm,
Right.
planning to spend the rest of my life with her, and, I look at the house and I'm like, dude, this is my house,
Yeah.
and I'm out here mowing the yard, and I'm like, I used to watch TV shows and be like, wow, that's a dad on TV mowing his yard,
Yeah.
in a suburb, and that's what I'm doing now, you
Yeah.
know. So it it really is something that blows my mind consistently. Is
Mm-hmm.
we're not kids anymore. We're grown men. I was in the Marine Corps, and I mean, what 2 years ago I was on the other side of the
Yeah.
earth.
Yeah.
So it things change so fast, but I
Yeah, I
mean,
feel like I blinked and I'm 24 now. Like
yeah,
but at the same time, I feel like it's been forever. I look back and I realize how much I've experienced, but I realize how much I'm experiencing every single day. It seems like on the podcast too, I realize I start looking for things that I'm going to talk about this week or, every 2 weeks. And I'm like, man, I could talk about this or I could talk about that. And then when we get on here, I feel like I forget so many things that have happened in 2 weeks.
yeah,
Whereas we talk about a couple things, but man, there's just the world moves so fast. The people that think the world is moving slow, like they haven't found what they're looking for. I feel like once you realize, wow, did that happen last year? On Facebook, man, on the memories, I'll get memories from
yeah,
like 5 years ago or something. I'm like, man, what was I thinking? Like, it's either so dumb or it's something that I still hold true. So it's always funny to see how long ago. I'm like, man, I remember when I posted that. I remember what I was going through then, or I remember what was going on, outside of just a Facebook post or something. So,
yeah.
because I'm the same way. I mean, we just put tile down in our master bathroom, or master bedroom's bathroom, whatever you want to call it, and
It looks incredible.
we're so happy with it. We haven't even put the grout down yet in between the
Uh-huh.
tiles. Um,
Yeah,
but just in general, like you said, doing those things like that, and you're just like, this is my house. This is my wife. This is what I get up for every single day. And I do believe that. Like I don't want to know or think about where I would be without meeting Gabby and getting married and having the house that I have now. Like it's the house I grew up in. My grandparents, sold it to me at a low price, and just in general, like I'm very fortunate, and I realize that. I think a lot of people don't realize how fortunate they are
yeah.
for so many things, and I'm so happy that I'm aware of how fortunate I am. I know it could be a lot worse, and I know that I could be a lot worse off than what I've got going on. Not saying it's an easy path, but
Well, yeah, but I mean, I look back on how miserable I was while I was in the Marine Corps.
mhm,
I mean, battling depression and and suicidal ideations and
mhm.
trying to just get out. Like that
Yeah.
was the only goal. It was like just let me get out.
I remember every time we
And
talked, you would mention it, and I'm just like, I was seeing it from this side as a civilian, and I was like, man, he's talking about marriage and all this other stuff, and I'm like, man, he just needs to take it down, just get out, enjoy life, and here I am, already married, so yeah, it's.
yeah,
Um, but at the time, I was single
well,
and completely understanding, like, man, don't do it, it's like, it ain't work,
yeah.
just enjoy your life. But it happens when it happens. I definitely believe that.
Mm-hmm. You definitely. I mean, whether you believe it's God's plan or you believe in fate or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that you can't stop the wheels of time.
Yep.
It all happens to you, and it happens to you when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So
I think we've talked about it before, but like me meeting Gabby, it was the day after we could talk. I think we could maybe bust this into two parts and pick up where we left off, kind of thing, maybe in the next podcast. But just like the day before we went on our first date, I told my dad, I'm finally happy with myself, and no matter what happens on this date tomorrow, I am excited to see what I do with my life from here. And then the next
yeah,
day we went on our first date, and then the rest is history. But that it happens when it is meant to happen, definitely. And that goes for anything in life. Right when you think you have no idea what's going to happen, don't know how it's going to go, yeah, I mean, it just new door, I guess, opens up is the way to put it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, if you just watch, you'll see, you know, if you're really paying attention, you'll see how everything just comes together all the time, you know. So, I mean, we can talk about it more in the next one, but
yeah, I definitely.
You know, if that's something
to build up on it,
yeah,
I definitely could be a lot darker. You know, I left out a lot
try
of
and keep
nitty
it
gritty.
positive.
Yeah. But I think that's all the time
we've got. Do it for us.
56 minutes is what I've got on my time clock right now. So.
Yep, but let us know if you guys enjoyed how we did the virtual podcast here. If you're still really liking the actual video, you know, let us know, you know, because if the video part doesn't matter, you know, like sitting in our little studio there and actually videoing it, if that doesn't matter to you and you just like listening, whether it's on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever else you listen, we can just switch to that, and we don't have to worry about the video. But if you do like seeing us actually sitting there at our table having the discussion, let us know.
Yeah, we can essentially rotate them out and whatnot, you know. Like we said, this was not expected, but it's the way it went. I feel really good about what we talked about. I feel like it was a great podcast. I'm glad we got to catch up the past 2 weeks. I feel like a lot's happened. So
yeah, it's definitely been stressful. So it's good to get it all out there.
Just let it all out. This is my premarital, or this is my post-marital counseling, I guess, William.
Post-marital counseling. You know, before we hop off, I just want to make this quick comment. While we were sitting in there, you know, talking with Tim, he's my pastor, but while we were sitting there talking to him, I was just thinking, you know, I wonder if me and Tyler took this test, how we would score.
I mean, Gabby's always saying, like, are y'all sure y'all are just friends or whatever? Like, nothing ever happened. I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just a friendship, you know? I think guy friends, though, that just don't have the same bond as, like, you know, girls have a girl best friend. You know, it's a hardcore best friend. This is my best friend since high school. My best friend since preschool. Whereas, like, most guys are like, oh, yeah, we met in high school. He's cool. Whereas, like, William and I, we've been friends practically as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, we talked about it in the Story of Us. And if you haven't heard that podcast series, you know, we did 3 parts when we first started the podcast. So go back and check that out, and you'll hear kind of how we got our start as friends and how we kept it all these years. But, yeah, Krista is always calling you my boyfriend. So it's just we have such a close friendship, you know, and it's a friendship unlike any I've ever had before, and not a lot of people are fortunate enough to have a friendship like ours. So,
but we're gonna talk into the night. It seems like if we don't.
Yeah, I got to get back to mowing my yard.
All right, Dad. Little suburban dad.
But yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good jazz. Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
See y'all.